Welcome friends to the newest edition of Seahawkers What If, the most unique Seahawks preview show in the multiverse. It's of course part of the Seahawkers podcast network. And if you're on YouTube, I hope you are, you see the beautiful man right there. No, it's not Mr. Phil this time, not that beautiful man. It is Mr. Adam Emmerich, the Montana Seahawker himself. Mr. Phil is up in actual Alaska, so we're filling in for him today. Adam, you're back. You were just at the mock game. How's your Hawkra? You were just in Seattle. How is your Hawkra?
Yeah, on a scale of 1 to 12, 4,000. The training camp day that we went out for, Clinton. I don't know if you've heard the little recap Brandon and I recorded yet.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, just beautiful day out on the grass. The team looked good. The Blue Angels were flying around. The weather was perfect. There were eagles.
Eagles, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how do you beat that? I don't know, except for maybe a day later going to the mock game and seeing the Hawks go out there and play a style of football that was a little Pro Bowl-y, and that gets your appetite whet. And then all of a sudden, this Thursday, it's preseason game number 1 against the Vikings. We get to see the next level of actual football come our way, Clinton. How fired up are you? Where's your Hawker at?
Oh, it's through the roof. It is 1 to 12. It is a 12 plus at this point. It's pitching ever higher. And I got to tell you, for the folks watching on YouTube, Adam, you got the old Seahawks cap on your dome there. Very nicely done. You know, the little details do not escape me, man. It's a beautiful thing right there. Excited for throwbacks. Excited for the whole season. It is the preseason. For the folks that are used to What If, it's our preview show. Usually Mr. Phil comes in with this awesome theme. We go through basically the ins and outs of what could possibly happen, and we preview the show in a real unique way. It's a lot of fun. And like we said, Mr. Phil's up in Alaska. So we're going to run it a bit differently this time, kind of go over 5, maybe 6 things that we know we're watching for that we think you want to watch for. And as you're watching, and before we dive in, Adam, if folks want to actually watch and not listen, where do they need to watch and what do they got to do?
Oh, you got to go to the YouTube channel, bud. Seahawkers Podcast. Just put it in the search. You'll find it. It's hard to miss. We've got a zillion videos up. We got a zillion more coming for you this off season or this actual season.
Yeah,
and
whole thing.
We got What If shows. We've got the regular flagship show. We've got the Clinton Bonner created 3 in 3 out, which is a great, unique wrap up of the week's events and that sort of thing. And then also, we've got our PNW Prop Stars show where we're going to be going through some of the best prop bets that are Seahawks related week in and week out. We made you money last year, people. Sure so did. You better tune in. Yeah. Like you're going to not only get great Seahawks talk from a different perspective, but also make some money and just on and on and on. And I'm sure we're going to come up with some new stuff along the way as well. So get in there, get to the YouTube channel, make sure to hit subscribe. I know it's annoying, but do it, please.
You guys seem to like it too. So hit the subscribe button. And of course, on the audio, right? If you're subscribing via the audio, you can find them all at shp.show. That's a super easy way to find it. Everywhere you got ears, every platform, it's out there. Let's get to the topic du jour. We're playing the Minnesota Vikings. Opponent, maybe it matters a bit. Maybe it doesn't matter. I mean, it's week 1 preseason, Adam. I'm not actually out there to kind of watch the Vikings and the Purple People Eaters. I am out there to watch our Seattle Seahawks. So let's dive right in. We have a couple things each. What's the number 1 thing you are watching for in this preseason game, and why does it matter to you?
Yeah, I like the way you talked about that. Straight up, just are we watching like the Vikings and individual matchups and team cohesion and the way that the team looks and are they sharp and all that stuff. And I think that's kind of gets a little too big picture for the team right out of the gates as they're breaking training camp here and going into actually practicing live football in these preseason games. So the number 1 thing I'm looking at, there's much smaller things. And the first one is just pre-snap penalties. Like this is a marker of whether a team is disciplined or not. And we saw at the mock game that they had some problems with pre-snap penalties. And one of the ways you can steal a lot of early wins in the NFL season is if you're good at not beating yourself right out of the gate. And I'm not talking about stuff like holding and PI and things like that. That stuff is just going to kind of happen. And when you're competing and that sort of thing. I'm talking about the stuff like offsides, false starts, getting in and out of the huddle on time, with the play clock and that sort of thing. So pre-snap penalties, I think that's huge. If you can be sharp on that early in the season, it's a big advantage, I think.
Yeah, and like it's or you could be the Denver Broncos and have Sean Payton come on a year later and completely rip the entire organization for not being able to get the play calls in, right? And kind of throw. But the funny part about that one for me was like that was always kind of a Russ problem anyway. Like even in Seattle, we had lots of those kind of stalling at the line issues. So be interesting to watch if the Broncos can correct that this year. I did hear that it was a little bit crunchy at the mock game, that there were some challenges with the pre-snap penalties, and I agree. Just being smooth, right? Crunchy peanut butter, I like that as peanut butter, but however, for my team, I want the smoothness and just seeing the crispness. Whether I'm not sure Gino gets a snap, maybe he does, maybe one series, who knows? But if it's Drew, if it's the hefty lefty there, whatever it may be, we want that smoothness and just seeing Waldron really just in absolute command of this offense. So I love that one as the first one, Adam. We have a couple who are contributed by Phil and by Brandon, of course. So Brandon brought up one that I want to call out right away too. He kind of just framed it as getting our eyes on who are the healthy running back options, because obviously McIntosh is out for several weeks. We don't really know what's up with Charbonnet yet. Injured, not injured, supposed to play, didn't play. K9 clearly not going to play quite yet. I don't think he's back in the practice field just yet. And they're not going to test him with the groin. So what you have, Roderick, I think it was Roderick Thompson, I think is his last name.
That feels right.
I think that's correct. I think he scored a touchdown in the mock game. So we might be looking at who will be like a second or third string running back that makes the team when it gets down to the 53 cut down. So you were at the mock game. Anybody standing out to you, or just, gleanings from what you saw out there when it was pretty thin at running back early?
Yeah. McIntosh actually looked pretty good. And then the rest of the guys looked like guys and they were just kind of doing their thing, and that's fine. But one of the guys that stood out to me, and for those who didn't listen to our mock game recap, it literally was the Jake Bobo show.
Yeah.
That dude was everywhere, and he looked like a legit possession receiver. So let's see if he can start to stack those performances, because that's really what the difference is, right? Between bad to good, good to great, and great to the best is consistency. And let's see if Jake Bobo can put it together.
And he's got the opportunity now, right? Because you guys talked about D. Eskridge out 6 games, and then we'll see what happens there. What was it? Derek Young also is going to miss some time as well, right? So all of a sudden, we've got a pretty big opening for somebody to step up and kind of sneakily make this team. And throughout the offseason, there was just this talk about Jake Bobo, like you might fall in love with him. You're going to like what you see when the pads get on. You see him in real games. He's not going to blow anybody away. He's not particularly fast. However, you know what? There's just some dudes who know how to play football.
Yeah,
they know how to get open. They know how to use their body. They high point well. They're athletic enough, and they have strong hands. Come down with contested balls. Cool. Sounds like Jake Bobo fits, checks the box on lots of those. And I guess we'll see if we start falling in love with him a bit further versus the purple team from the center of the country.
Absolutely. And when we see the Vikings, right, you're tempted to be like, oh, okay, like how does the defense stack up against their run game and things of that nature? Maybe look less at like team scheme and team goals and exactly how effective the defense is at any given points, or even how many points they give up. But look at individual matchups. That's what we're looking for, because you're going to have guys that aren't going to be playing together in the regular season and guys that are being played out of position just to see, like, are they any good or not at doing this? Like maybe we strike gold with Kobe Bryant as another safety or whatever it is. Right. And that's kind of what they're going to be doing.
Yeah, the individual matchups and just how are they performing, I think, is what the preseason ends up being kind of all about. And yet Mr. Phil did dial up and say, look, he said one of the things he really, really want, he actually said he broke it down a need category and a want
all caps
category.
Need.
Yeah, all caps need in the
Yeah.
text. And his need was the need to see us set the edge in the run defense. So I think that was about it. Yes, it's a unit, and also, well, is it the new guys? Is it Derek Hall? Like who out there? Because Mafe is having sirens going off that he's having a great camp. He also showed out in the mock game. I know it's a mock game. Obviously, Chenna he's penciled in, and now Taylor's hurt. So how long is he going to take to get back? So, Mr. Phil is looking for who could step up and just set the edge as our defensive ends. And of course, I think the need in all caps is simply because we sucked at it last year.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're really hoping as a 12, like, did we get this fixed? Did we actually go out and invest in the players that we need to invest in to get it done? Did we get the scheme changed in a way to put these players in the best position possible to do it? Is just the addition of Bobby Wagner in the middle going to be the straw that stirs that drink, being a guy who can get everybody where they're supposed to be and everybody on the same page? And I can see why he would really love to see that out of the gate. I think that's a little bit of a lofty goal in preseason week 1, but hey, you got to start somewhere, right? Yeah. So I can see where Phil's coming from.
And if we do see those kind of things, that'll be the exact type of thing we'll be calling out on the recap show on 3 in 3 out. If we see those little moments and dudes stepping up and setting the edge the right way, I will absolutely be calling those out. All right, I got another one here. This one I'll throw mine into the ring, Adam, here. So a big one for me. It was a challenge last year. So I'll drop a little breadcrumbs for you. It was a consistent challenge last year. From what I've been hearing from the reporters like the Corbin Smiths of the world, it continues to be a challenge in camp. And from my understanding, it wasn't exactly smooth or great at the mock game, is still our red zone offense. Our red zone offense, and even that if fantasy sports, fantasy football, will even call the green zone the 10-yard and in. So you got the red zone at the 20, 10-yard and in, even more condensed. That's still been not great, like rather rough, doesn't look solved just yet. And then you think about what does look solved. The 180 of who scores all the time in that area is like Kansas City Chiefs. It's like all the time. And I know some of it's the shovel, some of it's the trickery, some of it's just the footwork, the play calling. Sometimes it's just the throwing the ball, throwing into the flats on time, and getting just the running backs with momentum, with the ball upfield, almost impossible to stop. And yet we look so bogged down there at certain points, like lost, didn't know exactly what to do. It's really where Geno had the most trouble, which makes all the logical sense. To me, I realize Geno won't be in a lot of this game, if any. I know Drew will be in for a little bit, possibly a quarter or two. I want to see the red zone offense start to look a lot more like we are a top 3, top 5 offense. Without that part of the game, we will not be a top 10 offense. Just statistically, we'll end up kicking too many field goals.
Yeah, we may be a top 10 offense in yards, and we all know how much I feel like that's a big deal. Yeah. But points is where it's at, and the difference between 7 and 3 is more than double. It's a big deal. Yeah, and you're not wrong about the mock game. They did score the 1 touchdown and then had to settle for a couple short chippies. We can't be doing that on the regular. It's got to be the other way around. And, you bring up the Chiefs and like why they're so good in the red zone. And you brought up a lot of great reasons. Well, 68% of that's just Travis Kelce, like just having that sort of guy. So who's going to step up and be that sort of guy in the red zone? Is it going to be JSN? Is it going to be like a Jake Bobo type who looked really good in the red zone during the mock game? And Brandon brought up a good point during the mock game. Like, well, how good are you supposed to be in the red zone when, I don't know, all your running backs are hurt? Like that's a big deal. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. I would be over the moon to see a little more efficiency in the red zone week 1 preseason. If we do not, is there any panic level for me? No, not even a little bit. 0%. Yeah.
It's one that would be really gratifying and cool to see. Yes. Like the green shoots are there. And yet I'm not hitting the panic button quite yet either, because the full ensemble just simply is not out there. I love the point about Kelce though, too, because I went through like 5 or 6 things and I didn't even mention Kelce.
Right.
And that's almost the point, because he, from a defensive side, he draws so much attention that all those other things become available to you. And then when you run them really well, you got Reed, you scheme them well, you got an all-timer quarterback. It could be really efficient. I look at the Kansas City offense. Yes, Kelsey is very special. Nobody has a Kelsey that's one of 32. However, everything else, so we could go toe to toe with an offense like that. Absolutely.
Sure.
They got the best quarterback in the league, and they have the best tight end. I will give that to them. That's how I feel about that. Geno's a darn good quarterback. Our trio of receivers, a good tight end room, good running backs, good offensive line at this point. I see no reason, and I think a good offensive coordinator. I see no reason we cannot get significantly better in the red zone this year. So looking forward to that. I know you have at least one more. Why don't you give us another one that you're looking for?
Yeah, another simple one. And this is, again, one of those things that if you have this on lockdown early in the season, it gives you the advantage of maybe 2 extra wins that you sneak away from the other team because maybe they're not up to snuff in pre-snap penalties and tackling. We have had some problems starting out the season with tackling before in the Pete Carroll era.
Yeah, bad. I mean, some of the weeks are horrible. Like early season versus Tennessee a couple of years ago. We're up big, and then we can't tackle in the second half. Just dreadful. I agree.
Yeah, I was there. That hurt. It's one of those things that if you can overcome the lack of physical tackling in practices, and even in the mock game, like I made the joke that it was Pro Bowl plus at the mock game. If you can be on the level that you need to be tackling wise early on, it's just a big advantage. And it'd be something that you could see Pete Carroll learn from and this coaching staff learn from and find a way to become better at tackling early, despite the lack of hitting early on in practices and training camp and those sort of things. Other teams do it. So I'm sure that they can figure it out as well. So that's my second thing.
Yeah, love that. And I love what I'm not sure how much Witherspoon we're going to get because again, how much you're going to play your 5th overall pick. I don't know.
I bet you see a ton of him.
That's interesting and good. And certainly we'll be watching that.
Yes.
Well, and even if he's on the field for a quarter of the game or half the game, that's still significant. When it comes to tackling that and him playing in the nickel, playing the slot position, you're in the action a lot more. That's part of the deal. And that's some of the pieces for me to take that and talk about Witherspoon for a second. One of the interesting parts for me is simply people up in ire like, why would we draft a nickel cornerback with the 5th pick overall? Yeah, he plays everywhere. First and foremost, he will play everywhere. They will figure out how to get the guy on the field. Number one. Secondly, when you do play the inside, you end up in the position to make tackles on running backs way more. You become a de facto linebacker right after the hike if you're recognizing it's a run play, and he's really special in the run game. So it's like the Sherman style recognition, smarts, and then even a little bit more of like, I'm not going to say Cam because there's only one Cam, but he's got this blend of the smarts of Sherman and then the aggressiveness that we did see from Cam. And that's a very interesting hybrid. So if he's around the line more and he's bringing his hat more, that's going to change the dynamic of this team. Not just from an energy level, but from an efficiency level of, do we bring people to the frigging ground we have an opportunity to, or do we let them escape with arm tackles that don't do
catfish? And if they're running strong side, like setting the edge that Phil's talking about, having a big physical corner, not that he's big, but he's average size, just a guy who plays the position with a physicality that's about 30 pounds heavier than he is, makes a big difference. And I think that's exciting. I can't wait to see it. And for those who gripe about, well, you took a slot corner for, the number 5 pick. Nickel corner is a premium position in the NFL now. It is. Maybe the market hasn't caught up to it, but the results are there.
Yeah, I think there's a great stat. I listened to, bootleg football quite a bit. Know you guys had a chance to meet up with Brett and EJ, and that's awesome. And one of their last episodes was on the Eagles, and I was listening to that. Eagles were 25th in the league against the run. They were first in the league against the pass. And the point that they're making is, hey, 25th's not great. You want to be better than that. However, in today's NFL, you can get away with being an average-ish, average run defender, and then not so average in the case of the Eagles. Obviously, they had a tremendous pass rush, and those dudes tackle. The Eagles were a very, very physical team with good corners. But to your point, if Seattle can tilt a little bit that way this year, that the NFL throws the ball. As much as you and I love running the football, and I think running is actually becoming a little bit more back in favor. I see it kind of trending back a little bit because you know what happens. Defenses over-rotate, coordinators over-rotate, and the NFL says, okay, well, try this back on. Here's a fullback. Here's a power set. Here's 2 running backs in the backfield, and you deal with that now.
You did see the lack of being able to stop the run cost the Eagles a championship. What did the Chiefs do? Like they did run the ball way more than they normally do in a game in that Super Bowl, and it kept them in it so that they could have the big Mahomes comeback. So it'll be interesting to see. And I do think that you're right about the run game making a return. The pendulum always swings, and now you got defenders being drafted smaller to, deal with being quicker and defending the pass. And what are you going to do as an OC at some point? Be like, oh, wait, there's a bunch of little guys out there. Let's just ram it down their throat. It's coming.
Yeah, it is always, and I'm here for that. By the way, it gets back to some football that I find a bit more enjoyable, and I think we'll see a little bit more of that this year, even as our Seahawks prepare to be in more 11 personnel because of the draft pick and because of Geno in second year. I'm still excited for us to just to be a really physical team this year. I think that's maybe we could end on that point too, is just the idea that this team could be that much more physical than last year, that much more excitable. You mentioned a couple of episodes ago now that we were chatting about the ability for Seattle to also turn up the dial on the events they create and the turnover opportunities they create this year. And I think that for me comes along directly with physicality. You up your physicality, and lo and behold, the ball starts popping out, and the other team drops the ball more. The quarterback gets rid of it a half a second too early, and there's Quandre Diggs with another easy pick, right? So looking forward to all those things. I am sure that there are things that the flock wants to talk about and and they'll be watching as well. So in the comments, drop that there. Hit us up on the Discord. Hit us up on the Seahawkers Pod Ring of Honor, out on Twitter at Seahawkers Pod. Let us know what the heck you're looking forward to in this particular game. Let's get our popcorn, get the beer of choice, get ready for Adam, NFL preseason football. Game 1 is upon us, and it's I got this fun feeling about this season. I think lots of Seahawks fans do, and I am very excited for all things that are about to happen, man.
Oh man, if you're not excited right now as a 12, you're probably dead inside. And you're not wrong, Clinton. This is a huge year, and I think it's going to be very surprising for all the things that you mentioned, the energy, the physicality, the connectiveness that these guys have. Pete Carroll being rejuvenated. It's going to be awesome. We get to see it this week against the Vikings here on Thursday. Look forward to seeing all you little flockers that are in the flock on the Discord channel during the game. That's really fun. If you are not in the flock, you should join. You get on Patreon. Just get in the flock. It doesn't take much, and you get to be a part of some of the coolest 12s that you will ever be around. It's a great time. So come join us there. And Clinton, I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.